last couple of weeks, and the Memecoin Summit is probably like the most energetic one out there. So we're ready to talk about good vibes, why Memecoins are here, and what the future of Memecoins will be. So quick intro, Shahid here, one of the founding partners of Superscrypt, and early stage blockchain investment fund, and pleasure to have
Mohammed head of tokenomics and Anomica brands. I've been in the industry for more than 7 years now. Mathematics background, but really want to dive straight into the tokenomics and energy back into the world.
Yes, honestly, I don't think 20 minutes is enough to talk about Memecoin, but we'll do our best at this time. So first, just want to set the context. Last cycle, we saw a lot of momentum around NFTs. That was one of the primary use cases of the last cycle. And we saw a lot of trading volume, a lot of different NFTs launch. This cycle, Memecoins have sort of, to some degree, been the NFTs of the last cycle. So let's just talk about some of the numbers. Right now, the total market cap of all NFTs is about 75 billion. Okay? For Memecoins, it's a little bit lower at 55 billion. But this is a super interesting statistic, which is that the top 4 Memecoins individually have more daily trading volume than the top NFT collection. And why is that, right? I mean, with NFTs, there's only a limited number of holders, right? There's this collection and you can participate in that. For example, one of the top NFT collections, So Rare, only has about 5,000 holders, meaning wallets. Well, I mean, Dogecoin, there's 6.9, and I didn't make up that number, it's a real number, 6.9 million wallets that are engaging with the Doge ecosystem. So what we're really able to see is, unlike NFTs, Memecoins, the entire world is able to participate. It's really a culture shift. It's a massive narrative in the space, but there's a lot of important things that we have to understand. Starting with Mo, I'd love to get your opinion on what is the point of Memecoins?
Culture. Honestly and truly, always one. So sometimes it's nice to take a step back to understand holistically what's happening in the space to then understand the Memecoins. And I like to do a thought leader experiment for us together. How many of us a few years back heard of when Facebook or Meta bought out WhatsApp? Picture of hands. How many of us downloaded Signal or Telegram as an alternative to that because our data wasn't safe? How many of us still use WhatsApp? My point exactly. So from the aspect of the technology, we still have some way to go. We talk about utility, we talk about governance, but that exists. It hasn't been enough to capture this audience capture attention for a long period of time because utility is boring, governance can be boring. But what we see with memes is the capture culture, it's fast culture, if you like. We live in a time of instant gratification. And it could be Dog of Hat, I think is a great example. Memecoin in Solana, one of many Memecoins in Solana, but what was the narrative around Dog of Hat? We want to be on the sphere in Las Vegas. So they raised $690,000 in USDT to go to put the actual avatar of the dog with hat on that sphere for a week. We were able to get all of that culture for that period of time, and they managed to achieve that. Short space of time, what we saw was the market cap get over 2.2 billion. That's putting one in the top 15 market caps. In the last cycle, we had Shiba Inu, we had Doge, which we can touch on Doge later on, in the top 10. When you think about the top 10, you've got 2 meme coins and 2 stable coins in there. Insane, at least last cycle, or half last cycle.
And to that point, right now in the top 20, I think 6 of the top 20 are Memecoins. So it just shows the momentum and the movement that Memecoins are in this space. And so you talk about Dog with Hat, but there's a lot of variety of the ways that we can think about Memecoins. One of them is your typical meme, like Pepe, Dog with Hat, where it is very much focused on, these are all focused on culture. But that one is kind of like culture first, I would say. Then you have your kind of like protocol Memecoins, like you have Dija and Farcaster, or Bonsai and Lens. I mean, these are still Memecoins, but they're used within an ecosystem, so it does give them some value, some utility. So it captures culture and some value. And then you have event Memecoins, like BYBIT and Mega, right? Or different types of events that are happening around the world. and getting a lot of momentum driven around there. And then finally, things like contribution. I'll give you an example. One is called PER. And if you participate in that meme coin, which is PER the cat, some of the proceeds actually go towards animal shelters and helping cats around the world. So it's very much driven by a common value within that ecosystem, but it can drive many different types of use cases. That said, can you share with me what are your thoughts on meme coins being a way to rejuvenate communities or youth, for example? Like, can we get more people to vote in an election? I mean, with the plurality of meme coins.
The latter part of that question is super interesting. Memecoin, so make America great again, all around Trump. It pumps every time Trump is in the news and saying, right, it has nothing to do with Trump in terms of it's not endorsed by him or anything like that. As soon as it's mentioned in the news, there is a nice pump. I think it's sitting at $5 per token. At least that, as of a few days ago, last time I was able to check the markets. So it's how can we capture culture? We talk about memes, for example. And memes is a part of everyday life. When we had the launch of Memecoin towards the end of last year in Q4, it had the most amount of BNB stake, Binance contract, most amount of BNB stake. Again, it was clearly stated this is a meme token. There is no utility, there is no governance. This has no value whatsoever. Yet everyone wanted a piece of the action. And in addition to that, I think we saw yesterday, I think it was Hedera had announced something around a BlackRock leveraging their platform to tokenize. And we saw it more as a 2x in price. Narrative. As soon as there was narrative, that speculative layer, if you like, you start giving narratives to people, and people will react to that narrative. Again, in my role as head of tokenomics, we try to design utility, we try to design governance, we try to look at symptom process, we try to look at what motivates and what incentives we can put. But really and truly what we see in the space, at least where we are right now, with the layers of community or personas that exist, it's maybe 80 to 90% speculation, 10 to 20% genuine utility and governance. And what that means is you set the right narrative and you get virality, and this is really where your marketing, onboarding your KOLs is super important. Is it the right way to do things? Is a different question. It's having that virality, having people know about what we're doing and pushing that narrative forward can really help take you to the forefront and help you get this fundraising. To your point, some coins, you start off as an end first, be able to capture audience value, be able to capture attention, and then turn to like, this is a different utility we're going to have. And a lot of projects take the other approach of, here are our utilities, here's our governance, here's our roadmap for the next 5 years. We need to raise X amount of money to be able to bring this forward. And again, there is no right or wrong way to do things, it's just more around your pros and cons, your investors. And what we tend to see with memes, there are in very rare cases there are early investors who are coming in. It's more the case of a fair launch and one airdrop to a community, and then it's that value and narrative that drives the price action moving forward.
And to give a couple more examples of what Mo mentioned, Shiba Inu, they recently raised around 12 billion from some seasoned investors in the space to build up their three. Starting off as a pure meme token, now they're attempting to build utility around their community and brand. So what they've been able to establish is that brand. And you see what Doge did. Doge paid SpaceX and Doge token to launch a satellite to the moon. Obviously that's still in progress now, but you can see a lot of these meme coins just starting out with pure community that are now really trying to make impact in the world. And that, I think, is very exciting. So I do have a question for you. It's something that you mentioned around, like narrative, community, and speculation. How do you navigate between making investments is a strong word here, but how do you navigate the part of the community that you're excited about versus potentially losing your bag because it's predominantly speculated on?
So for you specifically, because there is no promise of any form of utility or governance, as much as I don't want to say this, it's campaign. fundamentally. It's, can I get in early? Is there enough influencers shilling this token? And then, can I try and time it up? In some instances, as you mentioned, with Shiba Inu, for example, with Doge, they sort of withstood the test of time. But the majority of memes will die within the first week. That's what they're going to show us. But there are some memes who get escape velocity because there's enough people who buy that token, that coin, if you like, and have belief in that ecosystem. Doge was the first meme coin. What was super interesting about Doge was a couple of developers, I think in 2013, they were taking the mick out of Bitcoin. They're like, right, this token's going to change your life, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. Within the first week, it had an $8 billion market cap. This is in 2013. So there's a lot of learnings there. Fast forward to today, I know we mentioned Doge, it's whenever it gets a nice little chill from Elon Musk, you see a nice price bump. I remember in the last cycle, I don't know how it hit a cent, but they were supposed for it to hit $1. It wasn't far off, to be completely honest, from where it was. And that really is the power of community, it's the power of viral effects, it's the power of having everyone pushing in the same direction, which really underpins the purpose of why we have Web3, why we have crypto. It's how can we transcend national boundaries, where we believe in an objective or in something to be able to push that forward.
And I just want to add on to what Mo said. About 6 months ago, I watched, maybe 6 months or something like 6 months ago, I watched a YouTube video of the Dogecoin millionaire. And obviously this individual is a big believer, he's been in it for a long time, he's now a millionaire because of Doge. And in his video, he was talking about, we need the price to go to $1, right? And if you remember, I don't know if you saw the video, but you know, he couldn't explain why, but he just, it had to go to $1, right? Because. Why does it need to go to $1? Well, because it should go to $1. $1 is a great number, why should it go to $1? So it really is important to keep in mind that what you mentioned, you know, frankly, it is gambling, unless there is some type of utility that could eventually be provided. But community is very powerful. I mean, I don't know what do you think about like Bowden or Mega? Like if Trump wins the presidency, is it a good bet to make? Should you hedge your bets, buy some Bowden, buy some Mega, and whatever comes will come?
I mean, not financial advice, do what you see fit from that aspect, but it's going back to the community element we spoke about earlier, Shiba Inu, and then launching the layer 3. Why does Shiba Inu need the layer 3? It's for one reason, and why did they have invested ourselves in that round? They have a very active community, and what we're dying for in the space right now is an active community. And quick show of hands, how many of us own Memecoins, or at least bought a Memecoin? Okay. I highly advise everyone to have a look into it because you will not be fully Web3 native until you understand the nature of Bitcoin within the space. So we're always learning, the space is always evolving, but understanding and needing to really help you understand the culture within crypto. And I do sometimes feel there was a big learning gap between a lot of new founders coming into the space, or founders who think they understand crypto and the ethos within crypto versus this is the way just for me to raise 10x more than I would in a conventional space. But back to Shiba Inu, building the layer 3 then allows other ecosystems or other apps, if you like, to plug in. And why would they build on Shiba Inu versus somewhere else? Well, Shiba Inu has millions and millions of wallet holders. I probably should have checked the number of clients coming up on stage, but it's definitely in the millions. And they're able to tap into that user base. What we're seeing on the timeline on Twitter or on X is the social farming campaigns. And you see all of these different tickers are coming up. And what we see is you get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of mentions over a course of a campaign. The airdrop happens, this user base gets their tokens. And let's guess what they do with their tokens. What do you think they do once they have their tokens?
They want to promote it.
They sell.
Okay.
They sell. Most of them sell. So you're getting the virality that you need. And it's part of a broken cycle. I get the virality that I need to get the numbers that I need, so I get listed on a decent exchange, and then that user base disappears and they go on to the next social farming campaign. So we're creating the wrong kind of cycles, and it's more the case of it's fine, and I know this is a question as well, but I think it's important to mention. I was actually having this, as you said this as a sentence to someone to try and break it down. Launching a token is like prior to a token launch, is like being pregnant. You think it's I have 2 kids, so I don't know what it's like to be pregnant. My wife does. Like, I've been through that with her. It's, you go through the pain, but really once the token is live, TGE is like giving birth. Once that token is live, you have to give it your full attention. Because if you leave a baby on the side with no attention, it's not going to end well. It's the same with your token. You have to make sure that there's eyes on what's going on, that you're communicating with your community, etc., etc., etc. Maybe not the best analogy, but I hope we've managed to penetrate and change some of the thinking about that.
I mean, it really just constantly ties back to access and community, building the right brand, and then once you have that momentum, figuring out what you can do with it to create sustainability. And that, shifting the conversation, or building off of it. I mean, meme coins have become an asset class of themselves. And I think that's a very interesting concept. Things that quote unquote can be gambling, quote unquote don't have a utility, have really become a league of their own. And that's actually been pretty exciting to see the development lately. But it's one of the things that you mentioned is this selling, right? And I think as part of selling, there's a challenge around whales, right? Like for example, I think it's the top 10 wallets with like 40% Doge. So, how do we make the meme coin ecosystem mature the right way, right? So that people that genuinely want to be involved aren't going to get, wrong when people sell. We know that there is a large concentration of people small concentration that are a large portion of the token. What needs to happen in the meme coin so that it becomes more mature?
Very interesting question. I think for a lot of the coins that don't last the week, it's a zero-sum game. And that's what we need to change the thinking around it. So we think of Doge. When Doge was on its ride to $1, some of those top coins were sold at the crash price, but they genuinely believe in Doge, or they have specific sell points in mind, and the token hasn't hit those sell points. I think it's a super interesting one. I think another aspect of why meme coins get so much attention is it transcends both Web 2 and Web 3. Memes existed before blockchain existed. And it's something that people, if you think of Web 2 as a persona, and Web 3 as a very separate persona, you're able to tap into both aspects of that. Whereas if we compare it to a lot of projects in the space who claim they're Web 2.5, building a product in Web 2.5 is actually very difficult because you're trying to appeal to 2 very different audiences, which then becomes more or less impossible to find product market fit. So what we're seeing is people maybe building a genuine product in Web 2, and then thinking of the token as a product in Web 3, and having a bifurcation so you're able to capture value from Web 2 and Web 3. But with memes, as I said, you don't need that because they instantly touch Web 2 and Web 3, just because of the natural nature of virality around them.
And there are many examples of that, like you mentioned, BYBIT, Mega, even Doge, all of them. So it really is a great way to bring more people into the ecosystem. And now we just want them to stay. We want them to feel safe, and we want them to explore the rest of the ecosystem.
Absolutely. I mean, memes are here to stay. I don't think memes are going to go anywhere. And it's honestly and truly, please buy some memes. Please lose some money. Get not financial advice, but it will really help in your thinking, especially if you join the Discord, join Telegram, and just see how people are interacting. These people exist in crypto, and they're very important to the life cycle of crypto, at least for where we are now. So the more you understand, the more you're better able to fit your product or your narrative to be able to tap into that liquidity, because people equal liquidity. From that aspect, the more attention you have, the higher liquidity is, the higher trading volume is. Again, make it very clear, not financial advice whatsoever.
So as you mentioned, it is very speculative in nature right now, but at the same time, it also does feel like a revolution. It really feels like what we call them the meme armies, right? Meme armies can come together and can do things to change the world, and that's frankly really quite exciting to see. Those are my final words. I'll leave you just say your final words.
Thank you for listening to us round one about meme coins. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
It was interesting. Thank you. All right. So we have our first presentation of the day, Gaming 3.0 by Enrico Lopez. Many